let's go ahead and get into quarterback rankings. We'll start it off with the signal callers. You got these are, by the way, these aren't anybody's rankings, but Nick Stevens's, and we're going to discuss where Nick has people. I don't think that there's any argument about Peyton Manning versus Indianapolis or Drew Brees at Atlanta. Those are fantastic quarterbacks going up against shoddy defenses.
Absolutely.
I think that you might get a little bit of pushback on Jay Cutler against Buffalo. That's a big step up for the Bears.
It is a big step up for him. Mind you, you did not give out the disclaimer or caveat that I was actually in the bathtub that I used to make my bathtub gin when I put together these rankings. So
you were swimming in gin.
I was literally swimming in gin. I was in a cold tub of gin. You know, hey, can't make the club if you're not, in the tub. Well, personally, the Buffalo pass defense, nothing about Stephon Gilmore versus Brandon Marshall or Alshon Jeffrey to me says, oh no, I'm afraid. The Buffalo defense was so unimpressive, and I know a preseason does not a regular season make, but they were so unimpressive in the preseason that they lost.
Kiki Alonso.
Yeah, they lost Kiki Alonso for the season, and they also lost Jairus Byrd, their best player in the secondary to New Orleans, and now they're up against the two of maybe the 10 best wide receivers in football at the same time on the road.
Worth noting also that Alonso's as a rookie, was already one of the better coverage linebackers in the NFL, and Martellus Bennett is a more than capable tight end that could create some problems for Buffalo as well. And also the architect of that defense, Mike Pettin, now coaches elsewhere.
And now you're going to tell me that Matt Forte going out into coverage against that crazy linebacker from New England that we lost and they picked up, what his name is, 51, I forgot.
I stopped listening to you a second ago, so
Good
I missed
thing.
that.
Yep.
Okay, so I'll buy you on Jay Cutler. I don't think I'd put him so high as number 3, but I think he's definitely a very good start this week.
I'm bullish.
I've got a little question with number 4, too. Matt Ryan versus New Orleans. New Orleans has a pretty good pass defense.
This may be a case of the Hard Knocks effect.
Really?
Yeah, because I'm thinking I love what I saw. I know they're going to come out gunslinging. The only way that the Falcons are going to be able to keep up with anyone this year, let alone actually win football games, is by throwing. There is nothing about the Steven Jackson experiment that's going to work out for anybody in fantasy or reality.
We tried that experiment last year, and we know that it didn't work.
It blew up all over.
Well, sometimes 30-year-old running backs, as they get older, get better, right? Yeah, so Matt Ryan, I don't love at number 4. I think that you're off there. I do like your number 5, Tony Romo, up against San Francisco defense, missing Aldon Smith, of course, missing Navarro Bowman and coverage, a fantastic linebacker. And the Niners were just like, with the exception of adding Jimmy Ward, really haven't done much to boost their secondary.
Brutal offseason.
I think you're looking at a great day for Tony Romo. I think the Dallas O-line should be able to do, with the exception of Justin Smith. Justin Smith versus the Cowboys left tackle, I think, will be a big matchup. If you get Romo enough time to throw, Des Bryant, Terrence Williams, Tony, all going to have great days.
Yeah, and just to sort of validate or discuss why a few of the other people fell where they did in the 20, and please feel free to take me to task in whatever medium, both digital or actual, for forgetting to put Colin Kaepernick in the top 20. Because
let's finish out the top 10 here with Aaron Rodgers at 9, of course, is playing at Seattle.
Bold choice, but I'm okay with that. You don't get a top 5 ranking even if you're a top 5 quarterback when you go to Seattle.
It's totally fair. That it should be worth noting too that the Packers are rolling out a new center playing in CenturyLink. That's going to be a couple false starts, some longer like 1st and 15s that they're looking at, and I think that if I happened to draft Aaron Rodgers with my 2nd pick, and then let's say Jay Cutler fell to me in the 7th or 8th round, I'm not sure I could totally recommend Week 1 starting Jay Cutler over Aaron Rodgers.
I'm not sure any of us also saw, even though I'm sure there's a lot of Hail Mary revenge on the mind of Aaron Rodgers, going into the hornet's nest filled with angry, hungry bears that is Quest Field. Or is that what that's called?
CenturyLink. The Clink, if you will.
The Clink. Going into the home of the 12th man and trying to get Hail Mary revenge. A place you were sacked 7 times in the first half, but 2 years ago.
Granted, Chris Clemens who got most of those sacks, moved on to Jacksonville, but he's been replaced by equally capable.
Another very angry, tough human being.
And of course, that was a game in which the Packers only scored 12 points. So yeah, I can see where you're coming from there. And I have a hard time building a rational argument against it, except for we just opened the show by saying start your stars.
I know, but this is the week you grab. This might be the week you grab Ryan Tannehill or Josh McCown.
No, stop.
Come on.
Stop. Listen, I threw out a very reasonable thing by saying Jay Cutler over Aaron Rodgers, okay. Let's not get crazy with Ryan Tannehill. Come on now.
Well, I'm just saying. I'm just saying. Last year, you're looking at a guy who won this fantasy trophy for having the brass footballs to start Kirk Cousins over Drew Brees in Week 16 last year.
I don't think I encouraged you. I started Andy Dalton over Drew Brees in Week 16. Also won me a championship.
See? Brass footballs, man.
That's Week 16. This is Week 1.
All right.
Let's move on to the second half of those quarterbacks. Russell Wilson leads things off with number 11. I think he's going to do better than top 11 this week. I think that
I have him as
we're
a
going to
riser.
see this is going to be the beginning of a new era of Russell Wilson. I recognize that I am biased pro-Seattle. That's something that everybody has to live with, including myself. But I do think that we're going to see, because the Seahawks defense, almost out of necessity, but pure regression, will have to take a step back this year. They're just not going to be as historically good as they were last year. To compensate for that, you're going to see the Seahawks offense step up, and that's going to be Russell Wilson's job.
New Era, that also strikes me as a great name for an athletic company if you're ever getting into investing or looking for long-term growth outside of sports.
Absolutely.
Just saying it, I also think Russell Wilson could possibly crack the top 10 this week. I put Ryan Tannehill at 14. I don't really have any regrets around that, just because I have a feeling that though this is the now Darrelle Revis-enabled New England Patriots defense and secondary that he's going up against, until the Patriots can show me or anybody else that they can stop the tight end, I see Lamar Miller and especially Charles Clay giving them a hard time out of the backfield. Once again, it's just a weakness of theirs.
I don't know about Ryan Tannehill at 14. Certainly not ahead of like Andy Dalton. But one thing that I am concerned about there with Ryan Tannehill going up against New England, and by say concerned, I mean concerned for you, it's going to be around 90 degrees, humid, chance of thunderstorms. This is the sort of thing where the Patriots, having their camp up in New England, obviously, are going to be, they're just not going to be as conditioned for the weather as the Dolphins are going to be. And so you can see, I could see a tired Patriots defense giving up some points towards the end of the game.
Right, because it was 40s and brisk all summer up in New England. There's been so much talk about that. Week 1, pretty much, here's the forecast. Hot across America. It's been hot everywhere. I think it's a bigger difference when you're cold in November and you have to go down to Miami, and all of a sudden you go from wearing Uggs on purpose and by accident because Brady gave them to you to the heat of Miami. That makes a bigger difference. Right now, it's 90 and humid everywhere. It's a jungle all over the East Coast. Just saying. Hey, I ain't no Storm Field or nothing or Sam Champion, but you know.
All right.
Okay.
So we'll have to agree to disagree on that one. How about, here's an interesting one, Josh McCown versus Carolina. I don't want to have a halo effect from last year's 13 touchdowns to 2 interceptions with the Bears, but because throughout his career he hasn't been that impressive, and the Tampa Bay does have a different offense. But I don't have that many negative feelings about Josh McCown this year. I think that he's a perfectly fine spot start for bye weeks. I think he's an okay QB2 to have.
He would be perfect. Now, if I have him ranked at number 15, obviously I'm looking at him in a 12-team league as probably one of the better QB2s that would be available to you this week. And I love the fact that Lovie Smith gave him exactly what he thrived with in Chicago: 2 6'5" receivers. Perfect.
All right, and let's wrap up some quarterback discussion towards the bottom here. Joe Flacco versus Cincinnati, that's a very good defense. He got him 17. And Andy Dalton at Baltimore, also a very good defense. These are two very unreliable, unpredictable quarterbacks where sometimes they're going to come through and give you something fantastic. With Flacco, even a little bit more unreliable. I would put Dalton ahead of Flacco on this one. I think that Dalton you can actually sometimes rely on. Flacco I would never want to rely on.
Well, I'm not going to put too much stock in the fact that the Bengals are talking about Darqueze Dennard being the steal of the draft and the best cornerback they've seen come out of college in years, with the most fluid hips and the best shutdown moves. Nor am I going to put too much stock into the Kubiak effect. Sounds like a movie we all probably heard of coming out of Sundance, but apparently he's actually a little bit of a QB whisperer. He's got Torrey Smith running a new route tree. They're going to expand his offense now, and Bernard Pierce is playing this week, and I actually think Bernard Pierce is probably the better back for the Baltimore offense.
That's
We'll
interesting.
see.
I'd like to rewind to the part where you said that Gary Kubiak was a quarterback whisperer. He's the same one that coached Matt Schaub for several years, yes?
Listen, don't you go blaming anyone for Matt Schaub. Matt Schaub be it, Matt Schaub does.
All right, all right.
How dare you, sir? Didn't Kubiak go through enough last year?
He really
How
did.
dare you?
He did.
Look what he did. Look what he did to Kubiak.
He almost killed him.
Weren't you the guy out on Gary Kubiak's Matt Schaub's lawn last year?
No, I did not do that.
Ugh, slander, I tell you. Slander. Oh, and also, I put Chad Henne at 19. Again, obviously you're not starting him over Aaron Rodgers the way I said you would consider Cutler over Aaron Rodgers or something so completely outrageous. All I can say is this. Philadelphia has a horrible pass defense. It hasn't gotten that much better. And obviously the Eagles are going to score. He's going to throw the ball over 40 times. You could do worse than his 307 yards, 2 touchdowns, 2 picks. It's not bad. It's not the best.
But it's week 1. You're not that desperate. Just something fun to talk about.
I had to fill out the 20. Hey, whatever.
Hey, thanks for watching this SB Nation video. If you liked it, do us a solid and click that thumbs up button. And for more from SB Nation, subscribe to our channel. And while you're at it, how about watching one of these videos over here? Come on, what else are you doing today? Click it. Go.